I also do foresee transaction work being able to be outsourced to AI. I think we'll see a lot of clients, and I think I'm already seeing it now, where clients will go to AI now, help them understand a case or understand some sort of legal concept, and then if they're unable to resolve it or help have AI help them with that, they'll come to attorney meetings a lot more prepared. So now we've got a lot more uh, educated and competent clients coming to us, and I think that's also good for everyone.
Hi, and welcome to Main Street AI, the podcast where traditional businesses are quietly revolutionizing their operations with artificial intelligence and winning. In this podcast, I sit down with industry leaders from law firms and professional services and other Main Street businesses to explore their AI journey. We dive into the opportunities they see, the challenges they're navigating, and the real impact of AI on their industries. Whether you're AI curious or ready to implement, this show brings you insights from leaders who are actually using this technology to serve customers better, empower employees, and drive profitable growth. Mario Simonyan started selling kitchenware on Amazon while in law school. Then he accidentally invented a product, artificial grass doormats cut from rolls he couldn't sell, watched it go viral, watched copycats flood the market, and realized he had no IP protection for any of it. That experience became the foundation for Esco, the law firm he's built over the past 8 years, representing CPG brands and Amazon sellers with brand enforcement, IP protection, and marketplace strategy. In this episode, Mario brings you a perspective you genuinely won't find anywhere else. He's been on both sides of the fence, and he built his firm to help the people who are exactly where he was. Let's dive in. Hi, welcome back to the Main Street AI podcast. This is Stephen Whittier with Satori Coach IO, and today I'm joined by Mario Samoan of Esco. Thanks for joining, Mario.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stephen, for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. And could you tell us, just starting off here, about what you do from a high level? Let's get everybody up to speed. You have a very interesting niche here within the legal industry. So,
Absolutely. So we help CPG brands, so 7, 8 figure brands with brand enforcement. And prior to that, we initially started with helping Amazon sellers, e-com sellers with any marketplace issues they may have. But now it's CPG brands with any brand enforcement, brand protection services. So, Stephen, what that means is a lot of people online that have e-commerce stores that are e-commerce brands, they'll have unauthorized resellers who are now sort of out of control, rogue resellers. Our clients have no idea where they're getting these products from, whether they're authentic or counterfeit, right? And that's another type of infringers. The other side, the IP infringers that are just sort of pure infringement, is I've got this invention over here, but now everyone is selling it. I need to go ahead and protect it using my trademark, copyright, or patent. So those are the type of brands that we work with. But I could also get into my journey and sort of how I got into this space if you're interested.
that was my next question, actually,
All right.
because clearly there's a need. I'm not an expert in the field, but I see this all the time.
Yeah.
And Amazon, like representing people selling on Amazon. So I would be interested to see how you got there, how you identified this particular opportunity.
Sure. So in law school, I started in my second or third year of law school. Everyone was going out, getting jobs, getting internships. I was like, I need to do something. And from a young age, I've always been involved in business, right? In high school, I believe it was high school, if not middle school, me and one of my friends started like this printing shop, right? So it's like I've always been in business. And in law school, while everyone's going out getting jobs, internships, I was like, I got to do something. And I found a video on YouTube from a gentleman called Daniel Moran. And at that time, he was teaching about how to bring products from China and sort of label it yourself, put your own label on it, and then sell it on Amazon using FBA, which is Amazon's fulfillment by Amazon. They'll warehouse it, sort of ship it, pack it, all that. So a couple of weeks later, I decided, you know what? I'm going to start doing this. I placed an order for some kitchenware and home goods from China, put my own brand name on it, and it arrives. I list it on Amazon. And from there, I remember sitting in law school, sitting in one of the classrooms, looking at my sales on Amazon, And at that point, Stephen, I'm thinking, I'm probably making more money than my professor right now. Right? It
Right.
was one of those where it's like, oh my God, this actually works. And super easy for me to do, for anyone at that time to do, right? And at the time, obviously, Amazon was barely starting up and everything was new. It was sort of the wild, wild west. And I just started adding more products to my brand. And fast forward a few years, I graduated law school, took the bar, passed the bar, and I remember friends and family asking, like, when are you going to get a real job? At the time, like people looked at selling on Amazon or building a brand on Amazon as something that you would do as sort of a hobby. No one looked at it as a serious business. And I remember at the time telling friends and family, like, this is a real business. But it's that look that you get where it's like, they're like, yeah, sure. All right. If you want to sort of entertain yourself with this, go for it. And I think it didn't really click for people, at least in my circle, until I sold the business in 2018, sold one of the brands. Because at that point I had built two brands. When I sold one of them, in 2018, that's when people are like, "What do you do again?" Right? So it was one of those moments. But so that's how I got the that's how I got the start. I remember as I started doing this, I got a little bit cocky, a little bit maybe overconfident, because everything I was bringing in were like kitchenware, such as like bamboo cutting boards, tea kettles, chef knives, things like that. I got a little bit too confident, Stephen, and I brought in 4 or 5 rolls of artificial grass. These are like large rolls. And I remember I had it in the driveway, and I couldn't sell it. The reason I brought it in because at the time in here in LA, the city or the county of LA was having a program where it's like, go ahead and remove your grass, install artificial turf, and we'll go ahead and reimburse you for it. So I thought it was a great opportunity there. I sold one roll, and that was like a nightmare selling that. I had to go ahead and grab a few people from Home Depot to help me sort of put that into a van that I had to rent, drive it in LA traffic to somewhere that's like maybe 30, 40 minutes away, unload it, give it to the guy. The guy hands me cash. I was like, this is too time consuming. So I was like, I'm not going to sell these anymore. We'll just leave it there. Few months passed by. I'm having my morning coffee looking at these large rolls of artificial turf, like, well, what the heck am I going to do with these? And I was like, you know what? What if I go ahead and cut it up into pieces and sell it as doormats? So I'm like, okay, let me go to Home Depot. Let me grab a few guys, give them utility knives and some sort of ruler for them to cut 18 inches by 24 inches doormats from this. And I remember as I was doing this, my family's like, "What are you doing? You're ruining this." I was like, let me just try. So we did it. I was using U-line poly bags. Like this is how elementary this product was. Considered my like MVP, right? The product labels, it was just printed from my color printer. Design looked messy. The edges were not straight. But I was like, let's just do it. I created a listing on Amazon, and Stephen, we couldn't keep up with the demand.
That's
We
amazing.
not keep up with the demand. So as I have my sort of people that I brought in from Home Depot to help me cut these, as we're done with these rolls, I remember calling my supplier in China and saying, I need you guys to cut these. They're like, wait, what? And this is a supplier that was providing artificial turf to like FIFA stadiums. So they're like, what do you want to do? They're like, why? And I was telling them, like, this is what I'm doing. And they're like, I need to talk to management and see if we could even do this. Right? So he calls me like 2, 3 days later. He goes, we could do it, but this is going to be the price. And I'm still looking at my margins saying that this makes sense. So I had him do it, make it a little bit more professional. The cuts were a lot more straight, a lot more neat. But all along, while I had gone through law school, I had no idea about brand protection, about IP protection, right? Because this was my child that I had sort of invented, right? This new sort of product. And fast forward within 6 months, now you've got a bunch of people jumping on and selling the same thing you did. So I had no IP protection, any sort of protection on this product, and now everyone else could sell it, and I've got nothing to sort of protect it. So one of the reasons we sort of decided to just focus on helping CPG brands, consumer brands with IP enforcement and brand enforcement is because we see it all over the place now. So it's like any client that I'm helping, it's sort of like me helping myself from the past, right? Where it's like helping that younger Mario with his idea and sort of protecting it and ensuring that he gets all the credit or she gets all the credit for this for their own brainchild, right?
Yeah.
So that's
What a great story.
yeah.
You can truly speak from both both sides.
Absolutely. And I don't think there's any other law firm in this space that's got the experience that we do because we've been in the Amazon sort of legal space for past 8 years now. We started June 1st of 2018. So it'll be 8 years in about a month or so, right? So it's like we understand the marketplaces, we understand the IP side, but also the marketplace side because each marketplace we treat it as its own sovereign country, right? They got their own rules, own bureaucracy.
Yeah, very interesting. So for people that are sellers, they're in the consumer goods area. What would you say? What do they typically not understand or maybe underestimate about the work that you do? So proactively, you would give them a message
Yeah.
like, "Here's what I wish you would know."
Yeah, so I think a lot of brands or that are either starting out or creating a new product, I think a lot of them put IP to sort of in the back on the back burner, thinking like, you know what, I'll go ahead and protect this once it's successful, right? One thing I tell my clients is, let's go ahead and protect it now. Trademarks are not that expensive. Design patents are not that expensive. It's sort of like placing the bet on yourself, saying, I know this product is going to go ahead and be successful. So I should go ahead and protect it at the beginning. Because then once it's out there and you've got copycats and you're unable to protect that problem becomes a lot worse. So if you've got a product that you're going to be introducing, make sure that you've got IP protection around it. That's number one. Number two is the copycats will come. And that's usually a compliment, maybe a backhanded compliment, but it's a compliment. That means that the product that you created, that you brought to the market, is so successful that now other people want to go ahead and copy it. So consider that a compliment. But once you've done sort of doing that, let's go ahead and start monitoring and removing any infringers, right? So this isn't a one and done game. This is something that we continuously have to monitor. Just like the alarm at your home, you don't set it once and say, okay, I already turned it on for today, we're done. It continuously has to be running, right? Because that threat is always going to be there. So again, it's a great compliment, but we also have to do something about that.
Absolutely, yeah, makes perfect sense. Um, the main theme here with the podcast is, we're talking to people from all different aspects of the legal domain, but kind of our core theme is around the role of emerging technology. Obviously, that plays into to this particular space. But what sort of trends are you seeing right now? And this could be either larger trends, just industry wide, or it could be how you're thinking about and engaging with AI and emerging technology yourself in your own practice.
Sure, I'll talk about it from the e-commerce perspective and then also from the legal perspective, if that's okay, Stephen.
Yes.
From the e-commerce perspective, creating photographs for brands, beautiful looking photographs, copywriting has become a lot easier, right? So that's the good news. And I know plenty of clients that are using AI anywhere from, again, doing the photos, making the photos look nicer, all the way to running their PPC, right? That's number one. But on the flip side, it's also become easier for copycats to take an image that you've created for your brand and manipulate it and make sure that they've got something similar but doesn't look exactly the same, right? So it's becoming easier for copycats and for the bad actors to now create multiple listings across several different marketplaces a lot faster. So it's definitely a double-edged sword. So that's the e-com side. As far as for us, we at our firm, we use AI every day. It doesn't matter if it's something like Zoom AI sort of summary that it provides, or for helping us start creating documents, or even doing legal research. Right. One thing that I'll say about AI is at this point it's great, at getting you, let's say, 75% there, but you still need the attorney's touch. Another criticism I've got, and something I was discussing with one of our attorneys, is AI doesn't know when the document should be completed. It's always giving you additional feedback, right? And if you sort of don't have the expertise or the knowledge or competency to know that, okay, this document is done or it's missing this clause or that clause, that process could go on forever, right? Because it's never going to tell you like, Stephen, this document is good enough or this agreement is good enough. So that's why it's like it gets you 75% there, but you still need an attorney to step in and sort of go ahead and add the finishing touches and make sure that the document is solid. So that's from the legal perspective. But just zooming out a little bit more, I think where you're as attorneys or the legal space in general, we're at a very interesting intersection. So we've got AI on one side where we've got attorneys maybe thinking it's a fad or it's a bubble, it's going to go away. I don't think that's possible, right? On the other hand, of that intersection, we've got MSOs. So we've got now private equity money coming in. Have you heard of the MSOs?
Yes.
Yeah. So on the other hand, we've got MSOs going out and sort of looking to quote unquote buy law firms, right? Right now, the MSOs are focused on PI, personal injury law firms, but I see that expanding in the very, very near future. And I saw a similar trend when private equity came into the e-commerce space when they started buying out Amazon businesses and Amazon brands. And the good news for attorneys is the multiples are going to go ahead and skyrocket. I remember the brands that I sold at around a two multiple. So that's like if you look at it monthly, it's like a 24 multiple. But on an annual, it's like 2x. That's usually how businesses are evaluated on an annual multiple. But Amazon businesses skyrocketed to like 8, even 10 multiple, right? Because of private equity money coming in. So I do foresee and I do predict that the same trend will happen, the same pattern here in the legal space. And once private equity money comes in, I think they're a lot better at utilizing capital to leverage and take advantage of AI. So it's exciting, but I do think this is a very exciting time we're living in as attorneys and law firm owners.
And that's a great point too. I don't think anybody's made it here on the podcast before, but I've had this conversation with companies I've been speaking to about how private equity is looking at AI enabled businesses. And, that's absolutely adding to the valuation. As you mentioned, some of these like very beyond traditional evaluations. It is really remarkable. Do you have any thoughts on where, if we were to, it's totally hypothetical, right? But to go 5 years out, I think according to what you were saying before, attorneys are still going to have to attorney for the high touch work. It's what their human nuance and expertise is going to have to do. But do you have a sense of like what might be much different than it is today, 5 years from now, versus what's going to be much the same?
I do think law firms will not look the same, right? Even if we take out the MSO out of the equation, I don't think law firms will look the same. I think law firms and any business, but since we're talking about law firms, I'll talk about that. I think any law firm that's able to adapt AI and actually train their team on how to use it, I think we'll be able to reduce staff. As horrible as it sounds from the human perspective, if your competitors are doing that, you're going to have to go ahead and adapt or die, right? So get started on AI as soon as possible. But I do foresee that we'll be able to do a lot more. Us as attorneys and even our paralegals, our team members will be able to do a lot more using AI, leveraging AI than before. And also keep in mind, this AI, even if you hate it, this is the worst it's ever going to be. Right, we're still at that stage where this is those phones. Remember those old phones that you got to put your finger in that ring and sort of turn it, dial, right? That's where we are with this AI. We're not even at the sort of cell phone stage. This is very, very young, and like I said, it's very exciting. But I do foresee law firms changing with AI, being able to run a lot leaner, and I think from a client's perspective, it's a lot better for the client. And that's really who we
Absolutely.
really care about, because clients are going to get sort of updates whenever they want, be able to check the status of their case whenever they want, and even get a projection of like what is possible in this case, right? Sort of give me the pros and cons of this case. And while the does increase the accountability that the attorneys and the law firm does that we have, at the end it's the best result for the client. Okay.
Absolutely.
I also do foresee transaction work being able to be outsourced to AI. I think we'll see a lot of clients, and I think I'm already seeing it now, where clients will go to AI now, help them understand a case or understand some sort of legal concept, and then if they're unable to resolve it or help have AI help them with that, they'll come to attorney meetings a lot more prepared. So now we've got a lot more uh, educated and competent clients coming to us, and I think that's also good for everyone.
Absolutely. I'll swing back around to your practice. What would you say that, obviously you're very specialized, but what would you say that your firm does extraordinarily well that sets you apart from others that might be in the same space?
Sure. So the space that we're in with brand enforcement and brand protection, I think there's other people such as agencies that do brand enforcement, and there's also litigators. And we've been able to position ourselves right in the middle, because with agencies, they may be great for a lot of things, but they don't really have the teeth, right? It's sort of surface level reporting for copyright, and if that doesn't work, they're stuck. On the other end, you've got litigators. If you go to a litigator for enforcement, number one, you got to make sure the economics make sense, because usually that's going to cost you a pretty penny. Number two, it's usually going to be slower. Litigation is going to be slower. So with us, what we've been able to do is sort of combine the best of both worlds, where we completely understand IP, right? We completely understand the marketplaces. And with just those two, there's a lot we were able to do besides just enforcing the brand protection with copyright complaints. We're able to escalate it within each marketplace. And like I said, each marketplace does have its own bureaucracy. And if we understand it, we're able to go ahead and leverage that to our clients' benefit, right? So that's what really sets us apart, is we've been able to position ourselves in the middle, sort of the Goldilocks zone of litigation firms and brand agencies, which are usually very, very shallow.
Very interesting. In terms of growth, where would you say that you're at right now with the firm, and where are you looking to get to in the next 12 months or so?
Sure. So we're about 1.5 million, and the goal for the next 3 years. So we set 3 year goals. So by June 1st of 2029, the goal is to get to 12 million.
Fantastic. Yeah. Um, you've had a great journey so far, obviously, from doing this yourself to now representing others, and having some pretty tremendous growth projections. If you were to wave a hypothetical magic wand and you could fix one thing in the business right now, what would that be?
You mean in my business,
Yeah,
or just in general?
yours.
In my business, I think for owners, attorneys slash owners that are a little bit more tech savvy, I think it's easy for us to grasp the idea of AI and be able to leverage it. I think what is a challenge for law firm owners like me is then getting that knowledge transferred over to our team, right? Creating the systems, the proper systems for AI to be leveraged, but also training the team on using AI.
Absolutely. Not the first person to say that. So
No, of
it's,
course. And Stephen, the challenge is, I mean,
yeah,
so we provided training for them, let's say 6 months ago or 9 months ago, right? Technology has
yes,
already changed,
that's right.
right? And sort of the platforms that we may have been using before, which were great,
Mhm.
now maybe not that great.
Yeah.
And again, it's changing, so it's like a moving target. I think that's one challenge that we have, and I'm sure a lot of other law firms have.
Yeah, it's one of the common conversations I have is not just we've got tools, but how do the tools speak to each other and how are people using those tools?
Exactly.
Absolutely. It's a great insight. Um, I always like to complete the arc here is we've talked about your business journey. We talked about your firm. We've talked about technology. To bring it back to the human and the personal, what would you say is your big personal why for what you do that doesn't have to do with just business growth?
With me, I mean, I've always been involved in business, as I mentioned earlier. I've always got this fascination for helping businesses, right? And just so happens that I'm in this space, but most of my family members growing up were all business owners, so part of it is like me helping my family members, right? But I've always had this fascination with helping businesses, and never really cared about helping the individual, whether it's like a divorce, criminal case, or some sort of personal injury case. I've always loved working with businesses. I think in here in the U.S. I mean, I'm an immigrant from the USSR, and people in that sort of country, in a communist or socialist country, don't have the ability to set up businesses. And I think there's something very, very powerful for someone that's able to create something out of nothing and be able to have that feed not only their family, but employees, the employees' families, right? So I think there's something very powerful there. And that's why I'd rather work with businesses and again than the individual.
How can people best reach you? What's your best contact info to find more about what you do?
Sure, you could find me on LinkedIn, Mario Simonian on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place to find me. And if you need to reach out, you could go ahead and email me at mario@esco.com. That's esqgo.com.
Great. And also put your website in the description as well.
Will do.
Excellent. So great stuff today. Really appreciate having you on and to get your insights. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Stephen.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.